To be honest. Um, so you kind of know what the platform is about, but just for everybody, Black Unicorns is a platform that inspires other people to it gives visibility to people who I'm inspired by, who I feel like could be more, exposed for what they do, because modern, I mean, like the media that we see isn't covering these stories, isn't talking to the type of people that I find to be inspirational, especially when it comes to Black queer people. And that's what this is. So I hope you're inspired by Summer and the story we're about to go get into. All right, so let's just jump right in. Um, let's start with your how you identify and um, your pronouns.
Sure. So, my name is Summer. You want the whole name or just the first? Summer? Is that
You can
good?
give Summer, yeah, whichever one you wanna, yeah.
Okay. And I orient myself toward being androgynous, and I have since I was 18, so well over 20 some odd years now. My pronouns are Summer. You cannot go wrong with a Summer, or she or they.
You really can't go wrong though, for real, with a Summer. Summer, and as we leave the summer in America, in the States, in the Western Hemisphere. But yeah, the summer, we always trying to get back to summer, baby.
Always with the heat.
Always trying to get back to summer. So, Summer, what would you like to share, in terms of what you do? It's a very open-ended question, but the question is, what do you do, and what motivates you to do what it is that you do?
That's a great question. So I'm certainly not going to lead with what I do in my career, because that is not what I do. That is part of the makeup of allowing me to do what I do. Mm-hmm. And honestly, what I do is I love to love, and I love to be in relationships. I love to explore in them, experiment, read about them, question, take risks, relate, grow. So what I do is I do love, and I do relationships of all kinds, with the seen and unseen.
Wow, you love. I wanna just jump right in that before we move forward. Because that love is my favorite word, one, and I think love is just such a broad word as well. What does that mean to you? What does it mean to love, and to love in the way that you said it, like many different ways? What does that mean?
Well, one is for me very, very active. It is not passive. And even outwardly, if it seems to not be palpable internally, it's about the work of self. And so what I have been heavily doing is loving myself and practicing that. And that looks like allowing myself to be imperfect, allowing myself to make mistakes and to be clear about those mistakes when it's obvious and visible to myself. Allowing myself to say sorry and to be forgiven. That's something that I say sorry to Storm all the time, and not like a over functioning, I'm always apologizing, but like, how can I be in relationship, and Storm is my youngest daughter, she's 8. Like, how can I act?
I'm in 3rd grade.
And she's in 3rd grade, she's right here. How can I demonstrate the active love of that with fun, with passion, with grace, with vulnerability? And that's in all of my relationships, with respect, with support of like agency and autonomy, with desire, with pleasure. Yes. So those different facets show up in who and how I love, and it's always active.
And what motivates you? What got you here? Like, what was the journey to getting to a stage where you want to share love in the way that you do?
You know, that journey is like, I think a lot of Black queers and a lot of beings on this planet was a complicated one. It started in being in a family who I perceived until I was about 7, 8 as like the Cosby family, right? Like, we were, I would say, yeah, you can go in there. I'll come and get you. It was a family that was aesthetically pleasing. One that folks looked up to, and was on very narrow and fragile footing. And the love there was one that was not sustainable, and one that was not consistent. So like everything in my family kind of blew up when I was like 7, 8. And it was an explosion that never brought us back together. And I'm talking about like my immediate family of origin. So kind of fast forward from there to about, 14, 15, my love experience was heavily focused on platonic friends. And my best friend, that we've been friends for 30 plus years, she just reminded me, like, you have always been about the business of friendship, of talking about it, of being intentional about it, of like calling the thing out, where her kind of concept was, well, friends are just organic, like you just a friend. And so love is also work, like really being in the work, being in the mud, being in the loyalty and the devotion. And so I concentrated on platonic love. And then, and those hormones kick in high school. And so I was about that lust. I was about that lust and that heat, and making sure that heat gets satiated and put out some. And so love was really in the form of lust, and experiencing that in a sexual way, in a physical way, in a emotional way. And I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I still don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Okay, that part. We just we're doing that.
Yeah, and it was like heterosexual love. But then there was still like attraction to folks who I understood to be in female bodies. And so that love then really turned into, still with the friendship being at the foundation, really being I would say it was more of a lesbian love than a queer love. I don't think that I knew how to be queer back then.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that for a second before you go. Understanding that you're not queer yet, or that you hadn't got there yet.
Yeah. So one, I identify as pansexual. I'm attracted to all sorts of bodies and energies. I think the only one I struggle with the most is like cisgendered heterosexual bodies. But other than that, I'm good with all the other ones.
They just get bored. Y'all 2021, 2020, since we done woke up, y'all been having a hard time. But
but back to that, like the queer. So I'm also queer, and I'm Black, and I'm queer. And that really has to do with my politics, right? So my politics are very Black and queer, meaning that it is not so structured in heteronormativity. It is not structured in serial monogamy. It is not structured in trying to fit in or pretend to be in some like kind of Christian or organized religion kind of structure. It really is a love that is very liberating. It's very risky. It's very ancestral, as much as I can hear that, as much as I can sense that. And it's also not binary and cancel and black, white. Like, my queer love can't be defined in the English language, and I am not I'm not versed at all in any other language to articulate what a queer love is, but it's certainly not in the foundation of what love is supposed to be and relationships are supposed to be in a European or Western centric idea.
Okay, so now I want to just rewind just a little bit, because this is such a good idea. This is such a real topic for Black queer people around the world, Black pansexuals, Black gay, lesbian, bisexual, trans, whatever. We didn't talk about your career, what it is you do, but I know that you do navigate in that space. You can discuss the career if you want, but I'm really interested in how you fit that into your career space, like how you fit what everything you just said, because you just removed a lot of labels, and I hope y'all know what that is. Like, she just took a lot of stuff off, and have to fit inside of a place where, like, heteronormativity is every day, and you deal with people who may not even understand any of this. So, like, how did you fit all of that person that you just talked about into these spaces?
I don't. And I, at the company that I work for, it's very conservative. It is a Fortune 200 company. It is predominantly white. It is predominantly capitalistic. And so and I've been at this company, it'll be 18 years and next year, and I'm in senior leadership. And quite frankly, I don't fit. It is not a safe space. It has never been a safe space. And the best way that I navigate it is that sometimes I have to blend in, or sometimes I remove myself from a situation. And so, pragmatically, what I have been able to do, and I do realize it's a privilege, is I'm not in the office every day, right? Like, I'm not interacting with people, and I now say no.
Okay.
And with that, there has been lots of harm to me, to my psyche, to my spirit, to my corporeal body. And the longer I'm in it, the more I just don't give a fuck. Can I say that? Can I curse on here?
Yeah, this is our show. Fucking cuss. It's us talking, basically. I mean, I'm learning. I've known you for quite some time. I'm still learning as I'm talking to you. Like, these are real questions.
Yep.
These are real questions. But so cuss away, feel in your true voice, and I hope that resonates with everyone who's watching, whether it's 2 or whether it's 2 million. Resonate your true voice. But okay, well, damn, you just said a whole lot. First of all, I'm just trying to really process that, because I want to make sure that I'm asking the right questions, because I like that you said that you don't fit in. That's an honest answer. You just don't try to fit it in there. You just don't. What? Okay. Damn, this is crazy. Okay. So what is when you are in those spaces and you feel the injury happening, and you feel I don't like to use this when it comes to our politics, but it's the same, code switching happening in those spaces. How do you recover?
Sometimes I cry. There have been multiple times that I have cried at work. I have cried after work. There are times that I just need to take time off, and I need to, in all domains, remove myself from that place. The great thing is that I have a boss for the past 11 years who knows, I'm straight up with this person, right? So she knows that I'm queer. Even in my office, there are pictures of all the people that I love, right? And I make no bones about it. My boss even knows that I'm, polyamorous, and that is such a dangerous thing to be out with.
Yeah, it is right now.
So when you mix all this, like, I'm Black, I'm queer, I'm androgynous, I'm out, I'm poly, I'm short, I'm left-handed, like, whatever. I'm a boss there, like, literally, not like figurative, like I'm a boss, like I supervise people.
Right, like for real.
But yeah, so what I do is I just really try to attend to myself, and that was a journey. For years I would just try to be strong and harden up. But unfortunately, I didn't know when to take that armor down. And so that hardening up was at the expense of my family. It was at the expense of my friends. Like I had become like impenetrable in all spaces. And that was very harmful to me. It was very harmful to my relationships. And so there has continuously been like a transformation and active work on how do I be me? How do I protect me in this space? How do I take advantage of the things that I've gotten, right? Like there's career capital that I have there. And so I'm able to move in a way that is the way I want to move in this conservative space. You know, it affords my family a lot of choice. And so I try to really take advantage of those things, but not lose my soul and who I am in the process. So everybody, direct reports, colleagues, peers, supervisor people at various levels, like everybody knows I'm out. Like I am queer all damn day. And yeah, there is some code switching because I'm in an industry that I need to use the jargon and the nomenclature there. But as far as like who the kid is, the kid is the kid is the kid, no matter where I'm at.
All right, here we go, y'all. All right. That actually leads to my next question then. So, you know, I don't know how you feel about this. I'm still in between. I'm still figuring this out. But like, you know, the whole coming out thing, visibility opposed to non-visibility or DL or whatever you want to call it. You know, I'm in the middle with that. Personally, I feel like people kind of are where they are. But since you you know, I said like in your spaces, people are aware of who you are and what you bring into the table, whatnot. What advice do you have for somebody who wants to be in that space that you're in? Like they want to be out, they want to do it, they just may not, you know, have the, I don't know, the right words, the right frame of mind, you know what I'm saying, to represent like that. A lot of times I feel like, you know, a person like you or myself, for example, who can come and have a conversation like this openly, forget how much work it took for us to get here. I mean, we were also scared at one point, right? So
I'm still scared. The fear that doesn't go away.
So yeah, what is your advice to that person, to that, let's say that other summer?
Yeah. You know, honestly, there are a couple of things for me. It is hard and it is very dangerous to be in our bodies on this planet in this time frame. I mean, it is dangerous, and I don't want to make any bones about it. I don't want to demean it or I don't want to belittle it because it's harm all the way up until death, right? Death of this body and death of this body for a being that is in this place. And so that is real. And so I don't know if there is like advice, but from my lived experience, I think what is important is to really take as much time as possible to work on self. I think one of the ways to do that is in relationship with other people. I think as much as possible to grow and cultivate your crew, your pod, your family, chosen, and whether those chosen people share the same blood as you or not, that's not the thing, but to learn discernment, to choose people who are going to ride out with you and ride out with you continuously changing.
Yeah.
The summer of 18 and 19 is not the same summer who was 32, is not the same summer who was 40, is not the same summer who was 44 at the time of this recording. And so listening to those, finding, and not just verbally, but like experiencing, sensing those people. And I'll reference and paraphrase something Reverend Angel Kyoto Williams, I heard her say once, and I know what my truth is. And just because I know what my truth is doesn't mean that it's going to be like rainbows and unicorns but like it's not going to be easy.
Facts.
It's very lonely to know your truth. It's very lonely to be in your truth. And as much as possible, try to lean into the liberation and the pleasure of it. But just know, just because it's your truth in this moment doesn't mean everybody's going to sign up and be on board. And that is okay. But be and cultivate relationships with people who will support you in your truth and challenge your truth.
From the point of when you were a child and you knew that there was something different. Sometimes I hate language because it's not saying what I really wanted to say, but I think you'll get what I'm saying though. When you knew there was something different about you, until like, to where you are right now, and in the way you think, like, one, when did you start to know? When did you start to feel that there was something? And then, how long did it take for you to get in this position?
Yeah, I would say 30 some odd plus years. So, I mean, at 6, I knew that I was different. I was raised in a family that were Jehovah's Witnesses. And none of it ever made sense. From a very young age, I just always had a sense that I would be destroyed in Armageddon. So Jehovah's Witnesses believe in you either like do that religion full force, or there's going to be an appointed time. And
they've been sending us to hell so many times. Listen,
and they don't believe in hell, but they do believe in like people being destroyed. And so I just always kind of felt that I was going to be destroyed.
I didn't know that, really. So they think Armageddon is like that's the negative thing in Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, like Armageddon is going to destroy all the people who have really not accepted Jehovah and really the witness faith. And essentially just a summary of it. Yeah. So then Armageddon's going to come. It's going to destroy all those who are on the earth who have not accepted it, and then resurrect those who didn't have a chance to get to know Jehovah and the witness religion. And then supposedly those resurrected and those who survived Armageddon are going to have like 1,000 years of like paradise on earth, like roaming with the tigers and the gazelles and shit. I don't know. And then after that 1,000-year reign, supposedly Jehovah is going to give Satan one more shot to take all those that he wants to take after this 1,000-year reign. And then after that, and who knows how long that time period is. And after that, there's supposed to be like paradise on earth forever. None of this shit makes sense. It's all a whole bunch of bullshit. It's very culty. It's very dangerous.
Fluffy as hell.
And so I knew at 6 that I was different. Like I used to have crushes on my oldest sister's friends. Like I just, and my oldest sister's 14 years older than me. So these were like women. And they would be like, oh, little Sumi. And I would just, like I would have this thing. My first grade teacher, I knew I had a crush on. My third grade, like I could rattle off Miss Strauss, Miss Brusman. Like I knew that it was different, but that it wasn't a choice because of the religion that I was raised in. There was no choice. And
I just want to point out though, I just want to say this real quick. So you always been fly basically, because you was going for the older, you already knew what was up. I'm just saying, like, if y'all would just let these kids be, y'all might have a little fly situation going on. Like,
yo, our 8-year-old says that she's bisexual right now, so hopefully she got a chance at that.
That's what I'm saying. I fully support that. Fully. That's what's up. Wow. But what is your favorite food?
Any that I can take to bed with my wife and eat.
Oh shit! See this motherfucker right here. Y'all niggas. Summer, you better stop playing fried. Okay, you know what? Yeah. Like what? Like a strawberry or like?
It could be that. It could be a fruit tart with some non-dairy whipped cream. It could be dates and Irish Dubliner cheese and crackers. I mean, it's right with some
Taste though, the
honey.
taste buds are just fine and just refined. Just yes, just
Shit, it could be a piece of good ass piece of chicken and some macaroni and cheese. You know what I'm saying? And some bok choy.
not bok choy. Bok choy? Did you say bok choy? I love bok choy. See, it's the fine taste for me. I hope that saying is still around when this comes out because it is the fine taste for me, darling. Come on with the bok choy. Ooh, a little bit of soy sauce. And you Polly? Anyway, that's not
well,
the
well,
show.
we gotta go there because you really you were extremely instrumental in that.
Actually, you said something
realization.
earlier about it, and you said something. You had it was so many things you said. I wanted to like kind of stay on task because it's not about poly, but you mentioned it earlier, and I thought about something you said just then too. Like I was having multiple thoughts, but like how you are in these spaces, you know, as an androgynous person, an androgynous poly person, how you got there, because you know that is in that space. It's in the intersection of a lot of spaces. You know what I mean? It really like sits in the middle of a lot of things, and I know personally because I'm similar to you in that way. That kind of it takes a lot of work, and I think a lot of people may think of it as like this like fantasy almost, or like you know, let's break that up a little bit. Let's because I think people think of it like this utopia, you know, like it's like ease, you know, you just get to have sex with everybody you want to have sex with, and you just get to just look fly all the time, and you're doing this, you're doing that, and they think of you, it's like the sexual deviant kind of thing on it. But what is it really though?
Well, for the androgyny, I even as a kid, like I was a tomboy, and I was quite comfortable in that space. And quite frankly, I don't know what it feels like to be a woman. Right? And I don't know what it is that makes up a woman, right? To be vulnerable, to be sensitive, to cry. I mean, that's a human being.
Right.
To be
Thank
hard,
you.
to be strong. I mean, these adjectives don't define men or women. So I don't, even when I was pregnant with Storm, I knew that I was pregnant with a child, but it was not like, oh, now I know how it feels to be a woman. I'm just me, and that doesn't really fit in any kind of box. Though I might be more masculine presenting, and people might say that I have more of a masculine energy, I really just feel like it's in the middle. And so that has always been the case. I didn't have the language for like gender non-conforming and non-binary. I didn't have that language, and I don't think back in the day we had that language. Is more of a current language, even though the phenomenon of multiple genders has always existed.
Absolutely.
Now, as far as like my poly journey,
a second, let me turn it back on camera. It gives me 30 minutes, and it does it. It can start talking. It's gonna come 2, 3, 1. Go.
Yeah, as far as like my poly journey, there were a couple of like notable things. One, my mother had very intimate, close relationships with her girlfriends. And I don't know if there was any, well, I don't think anything sexually happened, but I can go back in time and say, like, I think that there was some eroticism there. Right. And that's really for my mother to say yay or nay. We haven't had this discussion.
Right.
But I have been able to be attracted to and to have intimacy with more than one person at a time. Yeah. Now, getting to this journey, I don't know how long ago was that, 5 years or so ago. You and your partner at the time exposed Kendall and I to that, and I was just like, it was like hell no out here.
Yeah.
Like, inside.
The same way I was exposed when it came to me, I was like, "What?" I did have a moment after by myself, kind of,
But and I was also afraid to say out loud, like, that's intriguing, and there's a material about it that resonates with me. I was afraid to say it. I didn't know what that meant. Again, like you said, deviant and these stereotypes, like
Right.
this ain't no sister wife, this ain't like
Right.
polyandry, like all these different things. And I was just like, no, right? Like I could be queer, but I'm not that queer.
Right.
I got limits. I got standards.
I got my boundaries. You got them. They different for everybody. So.
And it wasn't until like a couple of years ago that it really it came up by way of a friendship with another person, and that ultimately didn't work out. But I really got into the question of that with Kendall, my spouse, and what does that mean and what does that look like? And again, this is not like, well, if I want to have intimacy with other people, that's not saying that I want to reject or not be with my spouse. I'm still very much in love with my spouse. I have the biggest crush on Zim. I mean, like to have a crush with the person, your primary person or nesting person that you get to be in a relationship with, that's fantastic.
Absolutely. If you're lucky enough to have that.
Yeah. And I'm very grateful and appreciative of that. And I have attractions, erotic feelings, romantic feelings, platonic feelings. I have soulmates, right? My best friend was my first chosen soulmate. And we have a very, I guess you would use like platonic, there's no eroticism there, but I'm devoted to her.
See, and that's something that, we should just lay out quickly, that, to be in the poly dynamic, it's not always erotic. A partner or a spouse can have many different levels. So a soulmate doesn't necessarily mean someone you're having sex with. As a matter of fact, I also have a partner that identifies as straight, actually. We don't have
my best friend does too. Straight, cisgendered, right? The whole nine.
We don't even have
Southern
no
Black
romantic.
Baptist. Yeah.
Yeah, but there is a connection there that we both recognize is a little bit more than actually it's just a relationship. And I think the relationship is what needs to be normalized and not taken out of context, because people be like, well, you're friends, that's not a relationship. Yes, it is. Sometimes you have very strong feelings for your friends. It's beyond the homie you met at lunch, or it becomes a relationship, somebody you depend on, someone you talk to every day, someone you trust with your secrets, your really intimate secrets, someone you could tell anything, someone you can do shit what you can't do with other people. Like, that's a relationship, whether you want to realize it or not.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I'm gonna out myself a little bit. And I told Kendall, I was like, I would love to physically sleep with Eclipse. Like, I would just love to sleep with him and experience what that feels like. And that's a very intimate thing.
It is.
Right. I mean, that's like farting in the middle of the night. That's who knows what our breath smells like. Right. That's very,
I'm gonna be in there cuddling. Cuddle bug.
Right. And it was like, I don't know if we'll ever have that experience, but I do want to say, like, that's something that I would like to do. And you and I have never really had a chance to be physical. We've never really been physical.
Yeah.
But it was something that was just like, yeah, I would like to experience that. I, clearly with willing or enthusiastic consent. But that's the thing about, for me, like poly. And there is a researcher and a scholar and a professor, her name is Kim Tallbear, and she talks about it from an indigenous perspective. And she's been polyamorous, I guess, 13 years. But she's an indigenous person who's really like, it's about the kinship and the relating. And it's not even just like relating to humans, but beings, like relating to nature, right? I have more of a relationship, or like understanding that I have a relationship with nature, right? Like I can have, sight gasms, I can have sound gasms, I was just camping in Big Sur, and it was like, that relationship and the consent of that and the feeling of that, it
Yeah.
was very intimate. And so, the way poly looks to me is not what people think, to your point of you fucking a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
It ain't, that's not my experience, and that's
Yeah.
not what I'm longing for. What I'm really
Yeah.
longing for is intimacy in a lot of different ways. And can I stay long enough, even in the discomfort of that?
Wow. Um, so
And I don't want it coerced. I don't want people to
yeah.
feel like they're doing it under duress or that there's obligation, right? Like, I don't, that feels icky. And I want everybody to be in choice. And I want you to choose me, just like I'm choosing you.
Yeah. And that's, well, we have time together, hopefully, God willing, we'll go into that stuff later, but I love that happened, that you said that, and thank you for being like vulnerable enough to do that. And I'm open to getting to know you even more, because as much as I know you, I love getting to know you. I've enjoyed it. Anyway, yeah, that was a little moment. I hope y'all saw little hearts around here. But anyway, what is one piece of artwork that you've experienced that you feel like people need to see before they transition? And by artwork, I don't mean like just like art, but like it could be a book, or even a lifestyle, or something that you feel like people need to see before they leave this planet.
Well, I mentioned California and the Bay a little bit when I said Big Sur. I think the ability in the Bay to like face in one direction and you see rolling hills, and then you take a 90-degree turn and literally you're seeing like these tall, majestic trees, and then you do like another 90-degree and you see like the ocean with rocks.
Yeah.
Like, if somebody can experience that, and not just the seeing, right? Even folks who are visually impaired, like if you can hear and smell, because it even smells different, right? The air is different.
Yeah, that's something. I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about. I know that vibe. I know exactly what that is.
So certainly that, Erica Badu or Jill Scott's first albums, experience that, right? Like,
Yeah, that
they
was a
might have
whole.
been,
That's definitely an era. That's an
right?
era.
Like that era right there. That music, even like D'Angelo, and he's a fellow Aquarius, like that first album, that energy. As far as books, there's a book by a person by the name of Mia Birdsong, and she talks about how we show up, and it really talks about like relating, and how the nuclear family and individualism is such a harmful thing in Western culture, and how we're not organized that way as beings on this planet. And so that is another piece. And then I went to Amman, Jordan, I guess 4 years ago. And I was in the Wadi Rum Desert. And that art, to be with the Bedouins and to have a small hot cup of tea, and to have that visual, and to experience that, like I'm getting chills.
The vastness and the
vastness and the color of the sky and those rocks and the sand and their head coverings and the language, right? Like, to me, I mean, life is art. Nature is art. And then from food, like my kicking chicken that I'm gonna make today with that mac and cheese and bok choy, because I was serious about that shit.
Yo, you just got me on. I'm not gonna be able to get no mac and cheese. I can get the chicken here, but not the mac and cheese. So now that's gonna be a whole thing. I'm gonna have to figure that out. But thank you for putting that on my. I'll be home in a couple weeks, so I ain't worried. But like, it gets real out here, y'all. It gets real with the food situation. But that's dope. You said a couple of things for the especially the the overall, like, I don't know, tell me if I'm wrong, but like the overall feeling I just got by like what's one piece they need to see or that people need to see, it's the experience of traveling and seeing and like under like culture and nature.
Yeah, I really feel like in this body, in this experience that I have been fortunate enough, again, to have people in my life that encourage and want to experience that with me. You know, I loved nature for a very long time, and because of breakdowns and relationships with other human beings, that kind of got severed for a while. And then being with Kendall, like it got introduced back. So I really think it's important to have, like, again, your pod, your crew, your chosen family in your orbit. And I don't know if it's a queer thing. I think it's if you could just hear and remember, because I think we all have it. I just think that we all, to certain levels and degrees, because of trauma and life experience, other things, we can't always hear. And I don't mean like hear, I mean like our soul being able to like tap into that rhythm, tap into that source, but we all have it. I can't hear you if you talk.
I was saying it's interesting you say that because we I kind of circle back to the beginning of the conversation when you were like talking about how you navigate these spaces that like, you know, can be quite difficult, whatever. But like I think about you being able to tune into your hearing, you know, tune into what you're feeling. And even though you may have to code switch at times, you can kind of tune in and be like, all right, I can acknowledge that I'm feeling this, and I can also acknowledge that going to uh, I'm not going to bring my full self into this situation to keep myself protected, but I am feeling this way. This is happening, you know? That's that voice that, you know, we have to stay in tune with.
Yeah, and everybody can't get it, right? Like, you know, there is a thing about, oh, you should be able to bring your full and authentic self to work into these different spaces. And really, I think you should be able to be in choice of whether or not you want to do it, right? Like, not
Right.
everybody can get my shine.
That's right.
Not everybody where they're at in this moment of time from my vantage point should receive it, and that's okay. And so it's not so much like I should be able to be my full self. Really, is I should be able to have a choice of how I wish to show up, and for me, be very clear about why I'm doing that. Some people ain't ready, and I'm not. This is precious. This
I
is
feel you
spirit.
on that. I feel you on that. I feel like that's something that, you know, this community, once we remove all the labels and we are really just dealing with spirit, the human spirit, um, listen to it, right? If it's telling you don't show up in that moment, don't show up. There's a reason why I'm saying don't bring yourself to that. Like there's a reason why it's happening, you know. And it doesn't mean you fake. It doesn't mean like this, like I think this is funny, this is coming. I never even thought about this until just now, really. This is the first time I've thought this. But the real culture, you know, having to be real and having to show up. Now, you know, that's pressure, that's anxiety. Listen, I think the best thing, listen, just listen. And then you'll know if you need to, because it's like, you know, we can protect each other in that way. You know, have you been in your environment and ever saw another person that you would consider, well, maybe like got queer vibes from somebody or pansexual vibes and didn't say anything or didn't mention it because you were protecting both of y'all in that situation?
Yeah, I don't I will say things to give them a clue,
Right.
right? Like if you haven't been in my office or whatever and there's a quick chat, I will say something about my spouse. I will use their
Right.
pronouns, and then people like,
If they know
what? You talking
you.
about multiple people? And then I get into it, right? So I don't It is never my intention of outing anyone else. But if there is like an inkling, I will send out a beacon. And if they pick up on that if they respond to that, then we'll go forth. And if they don't, and that's okay too, because again, it's everybody in their own time and in their own journey of who they are. And that takes a lot. It takes a lot to, in my experience, it takes a lot to have enough vulnerability and bravery and courage and hope to continue to understand who you are and to practice being in the fullness of what that is. It's hard because we live in a society that's like, no, you're either erased or you are persecuted against, right? Like it's all these different things to contend with. So anybody that can do it, like, that is extraordinary. And I think it's amazing and beautiful and want to encourage it, but it's not for the faint of heart. You got to get your weight up.
Get your weight up. Yeah, your one-liners has been killer. I can't wait to edit this. Your one-liners has been it. Get your weight up. But all right. What is damn, this conversation has went. Now I'm trying to. I gotta hold on one second. Let me just check to make sure I'm not missing nothing. Oh, I know I want to ask you. Because I love to ask this question. But like, all right. So what is freedom to you?
Freedom is choice. Freedom is choice and practicing that choice. And experiencing that choice and having enjoyment and pleasure. It is matching your desires and those desires being satiated. Freedom is unabashed laughter. Freedom is being vulnerable. Freedom is being.
What is a mantra or an affirmation that you would like to leave with everybody?
Honestly, it's a simple one. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. Like, overall, when it's all said and done, do the thing, because it's gonna be okay.
We gonna be all right.
That song, man, when he says that, like, we gonna be all right.
Yeah. And
that's why we have to practice like liberation now. I can't wait for my glory in heaven. I don't know about that shit. Right? Like, I gotta have my moments of glory now. So if I ever get to that ultimate, right, and I doubt we'll get to this utopia, but why am I waiting? I gotta try. As scary as it is now, I am entitled and I deserve it. And so
we worked hard for this.
Go for the pleasure, go for the joy, go for the desire, go for the experience, and don't be funky about it. And if you do something funky with somebody else or fuck over somebody else, intentionally or not, be accountable. That's in all. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be okay. And that's what I'm like. Yeah, no, we're gonna leave it at that. But any information that y'all want to find about Summer, contact. I'll make sure I put your Facebook, Instagram, website, whatever you want me to put on here. But I know for a fact that y'all got something out of that. I'm gonna worry about it. I already know that's gonna go out to the ether. That's gonna do what it do. And we're gonna stop right there because I actually want to talk to Summer on a private tip. Y'all can't be all up in all of business like that. Y'all want to pay for that business? Y'all can pay for it. We might let y'all in a little peeking room or something. Peeking.
But thank you for being such an amazing interviewer and moderator. And it has been a pleasure connecting this way through the ethers like this.